All right, y'all. So it's about to go down with distributors and the music community in general. A lot of artists, a lot of producers are getting sick of what's going on with the distributors, especially when it comes to the recent changes that were made with Spotify. One distributor in particular is coming under fire because of some of the things that they're doing with their terms of service, some of the things that they're doing behind the scenes with payouts, and we're going to talk about it here in a second. So the first video I want to get into is by an artist called Desh, and she's going to tell a story about her experience with using this specific distributor and how her music was not only taken down, but the distributor refused to pay her for what was rightfully hers. Also, she went through the whole process of uploading her music to the distributor for a specific reason, and they said they didn't even want to support her or allow her to distribute music with them. So y'all listen to this story and check it out. It's pretty crazy.
Basically, the middleman that gets your music on the streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music. They're not a curator. They're not supposed to say yes or no based on if they like your music. They're not supposed to take any percentage of your music rights when it comes to the masters, anything like that. You're literally just paying them a service to get your music onto all the big streaming platforms. So one of these distributors has a habit of taking the money from the customer, aka you, the artist, and refusing to provide the one service you're paying them for, distributing your music to the streaming platforms. How do I know this? Because it happened to me. So I'm going to go ahead and share my story, hopefully spare you from having a similar experience. So for years, I was releasing music.
Yeah, so a lot of y'all, just to give a little bit of background, the distributor is basically the middleman between you and getting your music onto streaming platforms. So if you didn't know, that's the simple way to explain it. You have to go through a distributor to get your music on Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, YouTube, even YouTube Music. So they're the middleman. They process all of the money that's generated from your music for you to get paid. You can't get paid directly by a lot of these streaming platforms, which is insane in itself. But Desh is going to talk about her experience with TuneCore.
On CD Baby. I've been in a ton of bands and releasing music under several different artist names, and I've done so many through CD Baby in the past. I don't remember ever having a bad experience. When I decided to look into releasing new music under my artist name Desh Please, I decided to go with DistroKid. I had heard nothing but great things about DistroKid, and I've been using them now for over a year. However, all my problems started when I came across this really cool opportunity in collaboration with Grimes and Grimes AI. At the time, it was early June, and I had just started working on this really cool track with my friend Timmy Timerson. It's an electric EDM dance pop type song called Dead from the Start, kind of creepy vibes. I was like, perfect, let's have this done in time for Halloween. We were loving how the song was coming together, and we were just about to get to the mixing part when my dad sent me this link for a TuneCore collaboration with Grimes, and essentially you can use her AI voice on a track as long as you give her 50% of the...
So a lot of times these companies, they will have a partnership that they'll do with the popular artist, or they'll have a contest, and you guys have seen it before. They'll try and get you to sign up for their membership to enter the contest, and this is the situation that Desh is going through with this particular contest over on TuneCore.
Royalties and either have her as the artist or the featured artist. My dad and I are huge Grimes fans. So is my friend Timmy. I sent him the link. He looked into it. He said it sounds awesome. So we decided to go for it. As I mentioned, I was already using DistroKid at this point. However, this was an opportunity to work with Grimes AI, but only if you used TuneCore. So I had to sign up for a year with TuneCore, and my friend Timmy did as well, just in order to accept any royalties.
She had to sign up for a year. That's already a red flag. I mean, I don't know how much it is for a year with TuneCore, so maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was similar to DistroKid, to where it's only $20, but they're gonna make you sign up for a whole year just to enter a challenge. I don't know. Y'all have to let me know if you would do that. I don't know that I would do it.
He got from the song. So you have to sign up with the unlimited plan for this collaboration with TuneCore, and it's an annual membership, $30. We were so excited about this track, and once we mastered it and got exactly how we wanted, I sent it into TuneCore through the unlimited plan as my first release with them. And on August 14th, I got the email notification that Grimes had accepted the splits, and we were over the moon. We were like, oh my gosh, Grimes likes the track. This is awesome. However, 4 days later, on August 18th, I get this email. Hello there. Per the TuneCore terms and conditions, TuneCore has the right to reject any materials submitted for distribution. This notice is to inform you that TuneCore has blocked Dead from the Start. While we have a no refund policy, a refund for your submissions can be processed under certain circumstances. Please let us know if you have any questions.
No, that's crazy, man. So basically, she went through everything that she needed to do to enter this challenge, whatever you want to call it, and she submitted the song, and then they said that your song's not going to be uploaded. We don't like it, and we may or may not refund you, which is insane.
Questions. Please do not attempt to resubmit this content through the TuneCore service, or it will be blocked without refund. The No refund, right to reject. What? TuneCore is not a curator. They don't get to decide if they like the song or not. Grime's already accepted. They're not a gatekeeping service, but yet they're saying the song is blocked and they're refusing to distribute it. Yeah, I have some questions. Artists aren't looking for opinions or advice on the songs they send in. They're literally just paying these distributors a service to get their music on the streaming platforms. That's it. They're not a gatekeeping service. They're not a curator. They're not supposed to give feedback or a yes or no based on if it's their cup of tea or not. And Grime's already accepted the track. So I log into my TuneCore account, and sure enough, at the bottom of my release, there's a nice notice in red saying, release not sent, action required. We've had an issue with your release. Please check your email for more detail on the problems and how to fix them in order to get your music live. Okay, remember the email I got? Here's a question. Where are the details on the problems and the solutions on how to fix them? So on August 18th at 10:31 a.m.
That's one of the frustrating things about dealing with these middlemen is they don't really have a rhyme or reason to some of the things that they do. Thank God, DistroKid, they've been amazing. Any of the small or minor issues that I've had with them, they've been able to resolve and help me understand fairly quickly. But there's been other people who have had different stories about it. And it's kind of the same thing with TuneCore. And there are a lot of artists that are coming out and saying they've had this similar experience with TuneCore. Particularly, the next video we're going to get into is by an attorney. And if you guys want to know how this story ends, you can go and watch it over on Desh's channel. I'm going to link the video in the description, but it's pretty interesting, the whole process she has to go through just to find out and understand why she went through this takedown and removal by TuneCore. And at the end of it, they're really just saying, oh, okay, sorry, we'll give you your money back, and I don't know what else we can do. So there is actually a artist slash attorney on YouTube. Some of y'all may have seen her videos. She is the top music attorney, and she does a lot of videos talking about legal issues when it comes to the music industry. And most recently, she has done a few videos talking about what's going on with TuneCore. And a lot of people in her community are really having issues with TuneCore and what they're doing on their distributor side. And she found out something very interesting about how TuneCore is handling their terms of service and what the terms of service say as far as how you can get paid and what they can do with your music. So listen to this from the top music attorneys. Very interesting and kind of scary stuff here.
To upload your music through a music distributor. You want it on Spotify or Amazon or Apple Music. So they're the gatekeepers. They're glorified banks. You go to a platform, let's say like TuneCore. You upload your music, you tell it where you want it to send all your music. It collects the monies that are earned, the royalties that are earned from those platforms, and they're supposed to put it in your bank account. They take a fee typically, and that's just what it is. Right. Most of these music distributors do pretty much the same thing. They might have additional services, but they're basically meant to be the gatekeeper, to get your music onto music platforms, and you have no option other than that. So here's what happened related to TuneCore. My law firm, as you guys know, it's been in business for 9 years. From time to time, artists will lose access to their accounts. Okay, so like their distribution account, they might have their music taken off of music platforms. Things happen, right? And sometimes it's because there was an error, sometimes because there was a claim. There might have been copyright infringement, or someone's claiming there was copyright infringement. So distributors will yank the music off of music platforms, send notices to the artists, and sometimes this stuff gets escalated to me, right? I get hired as an attorney.
Yeah, and a lot of times, especially if you're an independent artist, your music you can get a takedown notice for anything. And a lot of times distributors, they don't like to play games with fines and things like that. So if they receive a takedown notice, they usually just take the song down. So say you have a song that's doing really well and performing well on Spotify, and I say, man, that sounds like my song, or a company says that sounds like our song, that is our song. If you send a takedown notice to the distributor, in most cases they take it down without any questions asked, which is crazy. That's just another weird thing about the system in general. So a lot of times, I guess, especially if this is someone that is making a living off of streaming, they run into these issues. They have to contact a lawyer, attorney, and this is a situation that top music attorney is talking about. It's terrible system.
Crystal, I've been locked out of my account. The distributor has my money and won't release it to me. Please help. This is far and few. Artists do not have the luxury, usually, of having the money to go and hire an attorney. And this was actually the first time that I dealt with TuneCore, because I've handled this before. We send a letter to the distributor, we explain the situation, we explain more than anything else, and we just go, look, at the end of the day, you can kick artists off your platform. You don't get to keep their money. You don't get to just block them out and take their royalties, regardless of...
Yes, they do. And it's crazy that people are signing up to these platforms that are doing that without reading the terms of service, but technically they can. But this,
what you're claiming they did, which most of the time they're not going to even try to prove. So most of the time we get the money back. We even sometimes get music reinstated. We get the account reinstated. Everyone's happy. So in this scenario, our client, who gave me authority to talk about this generally, hired us because his music got yanked from music platforms. TuneCore locked him out of his account. And in this case, there were tens of thousands of dollars of royalties here. And he had reached out actually over the course of several years, trying to get help, trying to get a response, trying to figure out what was all going on. So our
she said several years. Man, it's about to go down with these distributors. Artists are sick and tired of having to deal with these middlemen that won't give them their money. Can y'all imagine of having to deal with this and fight for your money for years? Wow, that's crazy.
First kind of go at this, we started in December of 2023, and we always put together a demand letter, and we just explain the same thing that we say to all distributors, which is, hey, you can kick an artist off of your platform, you reserve the right to do so, but you don't get to take their money. We would like you to reinstate all the things, but more than anything, you need to release our client's earnings.
That's
they kick
crazy.
back, TuneCore goes, allegedly, our client had participated in, quote, store and streaming abuse, so AKA fake plays. So we believe there were fake plays on one or more songs, and therefore your client has forfeited his earnings. This was done.
And of course, they're not going to tell you how they figured out what the fake plays were or where they came from, right? They just, maybe they see a spike in your plays because you're promoting it on your social media, you're promoting it on Google ads or Facebook ads or Instagram. And if it gets flagged, their system doesn't ask any questions. They don't send the email, hey, we're seeing some unusual activity on your song. Nope, it's just gone. So it could be a perfectly legitimate way for you to promote your music, and it's removed from the platform.
Done without any kind of citation to case law, any kind of baseline other than we just did it. And so of course we come back and we're always going to cite to case law and give justification, all the things that usually gets the money released. In this case, we ran into quite some pushback. This escalated to a phone call. TuneCore didn't want to put anything in writing. So we have a little phone call and reiterated the position of, well, there were fake plays and therefore it was a violation of our terms of use. We're going to discuss that. And I go, okay, interesting. Let's take a look at your terms of.
Guys, check this out. This is about to get insane. Check out the terms of service that TuneCore has. Somebody mentioned in the chat saying that's a pimp. I mean, kind of. Imagine your money not even being your money. I know we're kind of in a system now to where most money is digital, but in this case, the money that you earn is not your money until these distributors say so, which is amazing to me.
Of use. And in fact, let me pull it up for you right now. Here we go. So, and in fact, I'm going to go all the way to the top. We're going to have to scroll back, but I just want you guys to see this. Last updated December 11th, 2023. We sent our demand letter around December 1st, 2023. So this was updated not too long after that. I find that curious. Section 1, grant of rights. And if you go down, this was what TuneCore cited as justification for withholding our client's royalties. So if you go to F, Roman numeral 8, company shall have the right to retain and or redistribute to third parties any funds or the monetary equivalent thereof which TuneCore determines in its good faith discretion are attributable to improper conduct. In fact,
oh man, now I've seen this video and so I understand what it means and what they're saying there, but to think that not only can they keep your money, but they can keep your money and do whatever they want with it is insane. And it's in black and white. Y'all can see it there. Plain English. Well, maybe not so much plain English, but this makes sense, man. I want to tell y'all, if you ever have something you're not sure about, first of all, if you're going to be signing something, you need to get a lawyer, especially if it's a deal that's involving your intellectual property or your money. You need to get a lawyer. But one thing you can do before you get a lawyer is there's a lot of tools out there, like you can use Google Gemini, you can use ChatGPT, you can copy whatever contract or agreement that you're about to sign or looking into, you can put it into ChatGPT or Gemini, and you can have it explain it to you in simple terms. That way you can better understand that. Also, you can also reach out to somebody that's been in the music industry, someone who may have dealt with contracts like this, and then they can help explain to you kind of some of the things that they saw when they signed these type of deals. And in most cases in the music community, if you're signing a contract, artists, producers that have been in the music industry, they don't want to see you fall into some of these traps that maybe others have in the past, or maybe even themselves have in the past. So you guys can reach out to me, or there's a ton of other producers out there that have the information you guys need. But man, this just gets worse, y'all. Let's keep listening.
Let me even make it bigger for you. So let's go back to that again. Company shall, so meaning TuneCore, shall have the right to retain and or redistribute, to give it to someone else identified as a third party. That could be anyone. That could be my grandma, that could be my aunt, that could be my friend.
Crazy.
Anyone. If there has been an allegation of improper conduct. So you ask, what's improper conduct? That's a great question. Let's take a look. So if you go to what is now section 1E as in egg, it goes, in the event the company has, in good faith discretion, reason to suspect that your account or recordings have been subject to, involved in, or generated revenue from violating the terms of service, fraud, infringement of copyright, trademark, right of publicity, or any intellectual property right, failure to comply with any third-party license requirement, or streaming manipulation, aka.
So, which is interesting because they can put all this in here saying basically that if we see that you have an issue on your account and we think you're doing something wrong on these platforms, then we can remove your music, no questions asked, which is kind of crazy. And Divine Feminine asked a great question in the chat. She said, do rights win over terms and conditions? What if they have terms and conditions that violate your rights or constitutional rights? Here's the interesting thing about the law. And one thing I've learned about the law is, to answer your question, do rights win over terms and conditions? Yes. The issue is you have to fight them. So you'll hear this a lot of time with, let's use marriage, for example. People get married and they have prenups, right? You get married, you have a prenup that says, okay, when we get divorced, this is exactly what's going to happen when we get divorced. But if you are in that relationship and you decide, you know what, I don't really like what was said in this prenup, or you know what, at the time of the prenup, I was stressed out, I felt pressured, I didn't really like it. You can have an ironclad prenup. If someone contests it, then you have to pay money to fight that prenup, which is crazy. So even though the person signed it, even though they said they agreed to this, they can still contest it. They can still say, I don't know about this, take it to court and you can fight it. So yes, in general, your rights win over terms and conditions, but you've got to fight it. You've got to go to the proper authorities and say, hey, you know, this isn't something I agreed with. This isn't something that I think is right. And then you have to go through the process. It's the same thing with evictions. It's the same thing with, pretty much anything that you enter into legally. So yes, the answer is yes, but there's still a process you have to go through. And as a lot of us know, that process is very, very, very slow.
Hey, fake plays. Collectively defined as improper conduct. So this was TuneCore's argument. They go, well, pursuant to our terms of service, which your client agreed to. And I go, well, did he agree to it? All right, most of the time when you upload, you have to click a little thing and say, I agree to your terms of service. I go, the time that our client's music was taken down was back in 2020. And I go, I don't have the terms of service from 2020. This says it was just updated like a few days ago. Oh.
Yeah, but even so, when you log into your account, and I've even seen this, well, I won't mention the name. Usually when they update the terms of service, when you log into your account, it says, hey, you can't move forward and access our platform at all if you don't agree to these updated terms of service. So, I mean, unless her client logged in on December 11th and didn't log in again until they called her to take them on as a client, it's most likely that they agreed to. I don't know. I'm not involved in this case, but in most cases, that's how these platforms work. I know I had a similar pop-up on one platform that I use on a daily basis that was like, that said, hey, you know, before you can move forward, you need to agree. If you don't agree, we're going to log you out, and you can't do anything else within the platform. So anyway, there's a little bit more here about this case. I'm not going to go into too much of this video. I'll have this video linked below, but the top music attorney actually gave an update a little bit later on what happened with this fight that was going on back and forth between her client, between her and her client and TuneCore. So check out this update. It's really interesting.
I was not expecting the outpour of anger and rage towards music distributors. I did a video talking about an issue that I'm having right now on behalf of one of my clients, and kind of this more wide conversation on music distributors who are the gatekeepers. They're the ones that send your music to music platforms, and if you don't go through a distributor, you don't get to have your music on Spotify and all the places. And as a music attorney, my office gets hired because if you get locked out of your distribution account and you have unpaid royalties, we need to go and demand that those monies be released to you because they're yours. And with the TuneCore situation, this was the first time that I had a music distributor not only tell me that they're not going to pay the tens of thousands of dollars in royalties that are lawfully supposed to be paid to our clients, but that despite us citing to relevant controlling law that says if you just take someone else's money, and it doesn't actually cover any kind of damage, you haven't been sanctioned by Spotify, that wasn't even a thing at the time that this all happened, and TuneCore's like, no, your client's a big fraudster, he didn't actually get all of these streams, and so because of that, he's violated our terms of service, and pursuant to our terms of service, we can just take his royalties, and not only can—
Which is, again, weird because they don't show you how they can prove that, or how they can show that these royalties, that the streams were fake, which it doesn't make any sense. The whole system is crazy.
We just take his royalties, but it literally says in the terms of service, TuneCore can give it to a third party. You can just give someone else my royalties. And again, that's if there is a claim that there's been fake streams, if there's been copyright infringement or trademark infringement or any of these things. So you're telling me you don't even have to prove it. And besides being outraged on behalf of my client, I have been an independent artist for a long time.
They don't
and
have
my
to
entire
prove
mission with my Top Music Attorney YouTube channel is to empower artists to protect themselves and to not get taken advantage of by these predatory practices in the music business. And I guess I'm just thinking, I'm like, I don't know. I haven't read all the terms of service for all the music distributors. I'm hyper focusing on TuneCore because this is the company that I'm dealing with right now. But the reality is that with hundreds of thousands of artists and taking their royalties, that really is kind of a side hustle for TuneCore, right? Think about it.
She called it a side hustle. Dang, man. Oh, can you imagine all what they could do with that type of money? And they could do this to anyone at any time. And they could say, oh, this record label says that they have a piece of this song and that it doesn't belong to you. Taking the song down, and that money's just sitting there. Not only is it sitting there, but then once they say, oh, we're taking it down, we can do whatever we want to with those funds. Yeah, this is some mob boss pimp stuff.
Altogether, like, how much money is that is never actually making it to the artist because they just get locked out of their account? And in the case of our client, he's paid over the course of several months a lot of money in legal fees. Now, granted, we got a response, we got TuneCore on the phone, all just to have them say, no, we think your client is a fraudster. And in fact, they actually called him a scumbag. And I'm just sitting there on this phone call, and I'm just like, I've done this for almost 10 years.
That's crazy.
And I deal with attorneys, and I deal with difficult situations all the time. And I've never had someone just to be like, out of my sense of personal ethics, I'm not going to release the funds to your client. And I'm like, even if what you're saying is true, and if you guys, go back to the other video I showed you, our client paid like 25 grand in Facebook ads, and then there was a huge spike in traffic. He had like 19, million, it was almost 20 million people who saw his ads and the impressions in the amount of like 161 million. And so just being like, look, you're saying all of this stuff. You haven't produced any actual documents. You haven't even produced applicable terms of service. And you're also just blatantly insulting our client. And you're like, he's not a real artist. I go, says who? There's incredible artists who make all kinds of very unique, niche kind of music, even stuff.
So what they were saying is, and what it sounds like if you listen to the rest of the video, is that the artist who was making this type of music, they maybe weren't vocals. So it sounds like it was an artist who was uploading maybe white noise, or they were uploading some type of background noise or ocean sounds, things like that. Because if they're saying you're not a real artist, then it would be a lot easier to prove that those are your vocals and that's your voice. So I think that might be where some of the issue is coming from. And Spotify, even with their updated terms for this year, said that they were really going to be cracking down and not paying as much for artists that were uploading those type of streams. And you have to listen for more than the 30 seconds if that song, or if it is an actual song, if it's just white noise or background noise. So it sounds like that's some of the issues that they're dealing with. She doesn't really say or give more information on that, but this whole situation is crazy, and it sounds like a lot of other artists in the community are having issues with this too. So at the end of the day, the question you want to ask, or the question that you want answered, is what are we going to do about it, or what's happening about it? Well, this same top music attorney is actually working to file a class action lawsuit against these distributors. And she goes on in another video, which I'll have linked below, to talk about some of the claims that she's making in the class action lawsuit, and talks a little bit about how others that use TuneCore can get involved.
Some of the sensitive stuff, our clients allowed us to talk about this, but keep some of his information private. So this was directed to the senior attorney at TuneCore. And so we go, Mr. TuneCore man,
she's about
over the past 4 months, our firm has dedicated significant effort and resources to amicably reconcile the disputes that TuneCore responded with against our client, who is simply seeking his royalties, which identified in our original settlement communication December 1, we talked about that, 2023, and is related to the distribution of his sound recordings hereafter his music. Despite the lack of justification for TuneCore's actions, we've engaged in comprehensive dialogue, striving for a reasonable resolution. We have provided exhaustive evidence affirming our client's status as a legitimate artist. And if you guys remember, a part of that was just showing that this happens a lot. Artists will pay for Facebook ads. And so our client paid for roughly $25,000, which is, as you know, a lot of money.
It's a lot of
money.
Go
really far away on Facebook alone. So 25 grand. We're substantiating that he's putting forth real marketing and promotional efforts, and then showing you the analytics of which we provided to them. You know, he actually reached, 19 million people, a lot of impressions, So he invested 25,000 Facebook ads for promotional efforts. These efforts were aimed to demonstrate our client's professional integrity and to try to appease TuneCore. However, TuneCore's demand that our client prove he is a legitimate artist was a needless diversion, bearing no relevance to the legal standards or requirements.
So basically they tried to prove everything. They gave TuneCore evidence that, hey, these weren't faked. All the traffic that we got to the song in question was from Facebook ads. And they showed the proof, they showed the campaign, they showed the money that was spent, and TuneCore was still like, sorry, we don't care.
You basically just wasted our time. And that was actually proven in that literally you disregarded everything when we had a little chat with you afterwards. So as previously noted, the terms of use by TuneCore contain a unilateral right? So a right held only by TuneCore to withhold artists' earnings, and even to actually give it to third parties it chooses. This forfeiture of royalties is applicable to any alleged violation, including claims brought by third parties. So meaning, like, I'm dealing with someone who is claiming, it's a record label who's claiming that my artist's cover song is not supposed to be out there, and it's cover songs are permissible under the Copyright Act. So someone being like, it's copyright infringement, and they're just an idiot and they don't know copyright law. So that would be in an instance where someone has alleged a violation, which is then a violation of the TuneCore terms of use. So TuneCore, pursuant to its terms, can just kick you off and take your money. And they don't even have to have proof. It's forfeiture of royalties.
That's
allegations brought by third parties, which shockingly need not even be proven true. As previously noted, TuneCore's terms of use violate New York law and qualifies as an impermissible penalty. New York law is clear. An unenforceable penalty provision exists when there's no estimate of the extent of the injury to be sustained as a result of the breach of the agreement. Because, guys, this is the whole thing. If you have a contract, there has to be a fair compensation kind of thing, and that's what this was, the principle of just compensation for loss. So,
so basically what she's saying is TuneCore has to show in this clause how the artists hurt them financially, and they're not showing any evidence of that, because they're saying we're not going to show you how our detection systems work, because obviously, as we know, if everyone knows and understands how their fraud detection systems work, then they can use that to reverse engineer it to fly under the radar of those detection systems. So it's just kind of a catch-22.
Bottom line is TuneCore has suffered
legal.
no harm or loss, and it's required to release all of our clients' royalties, regardless of its, quote, ethical stance. This is the first page, and now we're getting into the call of action. So what we want to do is, obviously, we're like, dude, it's been 4 months. Here's all the things that have happened. So we're just summarizing at this point. And now we're getting to the actual call of action, where we go next. Given the immense efforts by our firm to resolve this dispute without litigation, and TuneCore's persistent refusal to engage in meaningful dialogue and address the evidence provided, we find ourselves at a deadlock. We have reached the end of our resources for amicable negotiation. If this matter is not resolved promptly, we are prepared to escalate this situation legally to ensure recovery of our clients' rightfully earned royalties, in addition to any other claims and damages available at law. Please note, This issue related to our client's unpaid royalties has gained significant traction online, resulting in tens of thousands of artists, many of whom use TuneCore, agreeing a class action against TuneCore may be appropriate.
All right, so that's the top music attorney. She's really pushing forward and trying to get things done with TuneCore. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this case, because with the class action lawsuit, it does create the opportunity for more artists to come forward and say, this is where I've been wrong. This is where I've been wrong. This is a situation I'm having with my distributor. And this could turn into something even bigger than just TuneCore. I mean, it could reach out to all distributors, which would be something that's very interesting. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this plays out. You guys got to let me know. Have you had an issue with your distributor? What issues have you had? Have you had an issue, or do you have a story with using TuneCore in particular? And is this something that you would support and back up to? So